this wall piece is some acoustic piece of art, isn't it?
Well, in a way, it's a piece of art. It's an acoustic panel, of course. And what makes this particular panel interesting is that, unlike most panels that only come with a fabric surface, this is got a special surface that we've developed that you can paint. What that means is that when it arrives on site, whether in a school, a gymnasium, recording studio, wherever it might be, you can then adjust the colors to suit.
So you can get any color, but what has that to do with acoustics?
Well, acoustics all about absorption. So the panel itself, what it's made of is 6 pound per cubic foot fiberglass, and it's got a special finish that traps low frequencies, mid frequencies, and high frequencies. And the real magic here is normally when you have a surface, high frequencies would be reflected, but this particular surface we've developed will absorb high frequencies also. You can change the performance of the high frequencies to create more reflection if you wish by adding thicker coats of paint. But with a single spray, it retains its high frequency performance. So it absorbs frequencies all the way down. Well, a 2-inch thick, which is about 5 centimeters, will absorb down to about 300 hertz very efficiently.
And there you answered my next question, because I know that the thickness has some influence on the frequencies dampened.
Absolutely. What happens is that any product will absorb sound. A wall will absorb sound. It's going to be the mass, the absorption characteristic of the panel, and of course how air or sound can penetrate. So the thicker the panel, the lower the frequency as a rule, and of course then you can design products to go deeper by using resonant characters. Okay, so there's different ways of treating acoustics. Primacoustic, what we try to do is start with a panel that does a good job in the voice range down to the lower mid-range. High frequencies are very easy. High frequency absorption is very easy. And in fact, today, we're seeing more and more recording studios moving away from high frequency absorption. They want to keep the room more live, more natural sounding. They don't want to kill the room as much. So trends over the last 50 years have changed in recording. There are different levels of engineering. You can start where in your mind you want the optimal, perfect, most amazing room ever designed, and therefore you might hire the most expensive architectural engineer in the world. I tell people to relax a little bit. Think about U2. I think they're a fairly popular band. I think they've sold, 10 billion records. They record in any room with a bunch of blankets on a wall, and they make it work. Why do they do that? Because Daniel Lanois, who's the producer, likes a certain way of mixing. He likes a sound. He gets used to the sound. He gets used to the room. And that's the other reason why recording engineers and good engineer producers always go back to the same rooms. They like those rooms because they are familiar with them. And let me tell you right now, there are no perfect rooms. All of these rooms are different. They all sound, they have their characters. But once you get used to working in a room, you know how it's going to work, you know how it's going to sound. You take your CD or whatever it is, go to your car, go listen to it, go to your friend's place, go listen to it, go to your mom's house and listen to it. You'll find out how your room reacts, and you will start to adjust to it. So,
But shouldn't the room be as neutral as possible?
we would love every room to be neutral, but it's very expensive to make it perfectly neutral. And there's so many other things that enter into play. Your recording system itself is not neutral. Your speakers are not neutral. Your compressor's not neutral. Your equalization's not neutral. So it's a compromise. Everything from the microphone through to the loudspeaker through the room is a compromise.
But you can't convince me that this simple panel can solve all problems.
Well, that's exactly my point. We're not going to solve all the problems. We're going to make that room functional. We're going to get you there at 90% by simply getting about 25 to 30% coverage on the wall. We'll get rid of some of the main problems. These are going to be standing waves, they're going to be flutter echo, and they're going to be primary reflections, which cause comb filtering. We want to reduce those, get those under a comfortable level. Probably for about €1,000, you get a room that will work fairly well. If you want to go to the next level, then you start to deal with bass issues, and then you can treat the room based on how you like to mix.
But how do you solve the problem of standing waves?
Well, standing waves are typically the same problem as comb filtering, only standing waves are basically caused by low frequencies. You've got a room resonance, you've got a problem in that room. How do you solve the problem is that we want to minimize that standing wave, and we do that with using a bass trap.
Can you show us such one?
I can show you one if you want to follow me back over here. Standing waves are a problem, and they are created by sound going from the front of the room to the back of the room to side, ceiling to floor. These are typically low frequencies, and as this energy combines, you get peaks. As it cancels, you get dips, and depending on where you're sitting in the room, you might have too much bass or not enough bass, or certain frequencies you hear and other places you don't hear it.
And what can you do about it?
Bass traps, and the magic of bass trap is really what we talk about next. And what we want to do is get rid of that excess energy. And the way we do that with a bass trap is to figure out how to absorb bass without killing the room. And that's part of the magic. You know, we've talked in the past, what you want is balanced absorption. You don't want to just take bass, you don't want to just take highs, you want to take all frequencies out. So if you can afford to get some bass traps, your bass traps will make a huge difference. This particular bass trap, we have two, max trap and the full trap. They combine an acoustic panel on the front. On inside, we have a moving diaphragm. That diaphragm works kind of like this, where it's a very mobile, very soft diaphragm, and as energy hits it, it vibrates based on the energy in the room. So if there's a lot of bass at 80 hertz, this vibrates at 80 hertz. And because that energy vibrates at 80 hertz, it gets dissipated. And it's incredibly effective, up to 290% at the resonant frequency.
So the advantage is that you don't have to have angled walls anymore.
Well, no, the angled walls is a different issue. The angled walls will, of course, help reduce standing waves, which will help that, but the angled walls also get rid of flutter echo. So that's two functions of an angled wall. So what this does is it gets rid of the bass problem, of course, the resonant problem, or at least it reduces it. And it's all about attenuating the bass so that you have less of a comb filtering effect in the low frequencies, which causes room modes.
And what is the price of this magic solution?
This magic solution is about 400 or 500 euro. So it's not too expensive, and it's really, really, really cool. Anybody that's tried one, you shake your head. In fact, when we had it tested at Riverbank Labs, they'd never seen anything like it.
And when you have a room you want to use for music recording, etc., and you don't have the money for an acoustic engineering, what should you do and what would it cost?
A basic room, let's say, of course, I have to convert from feet to meter here, but let's say a typical room of, let's say, 4 meters by 5 meters or something like this, or 4 by 5. I think you can get away with a London 12 kit. This is one of our Primacoustic kits that costs about 1,000 euros, and this has enough panels to take care of the sides, the front, and it has a couple bass traps, not these ones, but some traps that will get down to about 100 hertz, which will work fairly well for you. And it's a great starting place. As far as being perfect, it is not perfect. However, these panels are so efficient and they work so well that I think once you try them, you get them in your room, you start to mix with them, you will quickly become familiar, and that familiarity will result in better sound. And that's really what we're building or offering.